everybody, welcome to our live energy update. Today is August the 10th and we just got a very intense full moon weekend or beginning of the week behind us. So let's see how this is playing out here for the next week. As always, we want to start with a quick reflection. Thank you. I really appreciate your attention. All right. So why do I do these energy updates for energetically sensitives and empaths? I just want to take a quick minute to reflect on that. Last week was was a really good example for why this is actually useful. All right. So if you want predictions, if you want forecasts, this is not the right place for you, okay? I'm reflecting on energetic sensations. I'm reflecting on subjective experiences, and this is sort of part of the deal here, why I'm doing this live, and because there's so many of you out there who have these energetic sensations and who don't really know how to contextualize them. So by doing these energetic weather forecasts and always going back and reflecting on past week's experiences, what I'm trying to do is give you a little reassurance and reconfirmation that it's not just you. All right, one of the big problems with energetic sensitivity or being highly sensitive or being an empath for that matter is that we all think we're alone. Okay, and it makes us spin into these loops, you know, like what is wrong with me? Like, why am I responding this way? Why didn't I see this coming? And so forth. So this is why it's important really to have a little support here through community, and even if it is just each and every one of us helping another. Okay, so these energy updates are not just supposed to give you like a heads up, they're also supposed to give you a platform. Okay, and I really loved what happened here last week when everybody was sharing how they were really going through that same experience and how they thought it was just them, and how healing this really was for many of you to see how many people from all over the world are actually experiencing these very same weird things. Okay, so last week I sent out a random etheric buzz alert, as I called it, just because it was so strong, you know, this feeling of high frequent energies going through us, and if we didn't know how to contextualize this, well, then it looked like we go nuts, or we're having some like I don't know, possession experience or whatever. So in order to make you feel more confident here, and to understand that there are influences that come in from the outside as well. So it is not just you, it is a part in you that reacts to certain outer triggers, or better say, that triggers inner things in you. And this is why it's important to reflect on this a little bit. And when we are in it, it's very difficult for us to see it. So we need the reflection here. We need sort of like the community aspect to help us to see that we're going through something that millions of people are possibly going through at the same time. And we need to speak up. All right. So the purpose of these energy updates is not just to give you like okay, next week, watch out for this and this. You can get that in horoscopes or from a card reader or whatever. I already talked about the use of predictions from an energetic point of view. From an energetic point of view, predictions do not make a lot of sense, especially not if a person is in a high vibratory state. Because then a person can actually begin to access their own manifestation abilities and choose what kind of reality this person wants to experience. And Elke here is asking, great question. Thank you, Elke. How are we helping the collective, really? the aspect of like wanting to be of service that many of us here as energetically sensitives have comes in through understanding that that we are all connected, meaning that everything that I transcend within myself ultimately helps to break some of that what many call matrix, that tight-knit matrix construct of the human collective unconscious. And so everyone here who understands what I just talked about, for you really the understanding is that your job is not to fix others. Your job is to go in and transcend the things as they arise within you. All right, and as you do this, you are paving the way. You are turning like a little path in the grass into a road that others can walk after you. And this is energetic reality, okay? For those of us who can see energies, read energies, we can see this. So we often describe ourselves as code breakers. All right, but again, this is just a label, and we've talked a lot about how labels actually constrict us and really distort our perception too, because then we begin to identify with it. And as we identify with anything, I mean, even the word empath, even the word energetically sensitive is a label and can lead to an ego identification, which is why there's so much misguidance and misdirection here in this spiritual scene. So part of my job here is to create a little bit of a grounding here and to bring in a truth aspect that has nothing to do with what kind of teacher, what kind of teaching, what kind of religion, what kind of beliefs I have. All right, so I'm trying to take these beliefs out and really just reduces to what people experience. And the way I do this is simple. I work with hundreds of people every week that actually are energetically sensitive and that go through processes with me, or even just in energy coaching where we analyze and where we protocol people's energies and how that actually affects a person's life. So there's a statistic data that we're producing here on a weekly basis, but then there's also the community aspect, the discussions, the webinars that we have on a weekly basis where people report about those different effects, and where we bring this in context with some of the energetic developments that we observe in the collective. All right. You may say like, oh, okay, so this is like a special skill that you have. I would say no, it is a skill that we all have, that just the people here, the trans coaches and myself, have learned to master, have learned to really tap into this. So a big part of what I am doing is teaching other people how to tap into these energetic reading, scanning, healing, and manifestation abilities. All right, so it's not a matter of a special skill or we know the truth or the secret. All that is BS, quite frankly. The only person that can really determine truth for themselves is the person itself. And so I find it makes more sense to teach people how to tap into their inner truth, how to learn how to turn on that truth detector in their heart field and begin to discern for themselves. All right, and on that way, while learning this and while training these things and maybe while doing meditation or while educating ourselves, I'm publishing these energy updates to give you feedback, to give you reflection, and to give you a little bit of a heads up so that you can more easily contextualize what you're experiencing. All right, so just as a general overview here, why I'm even doing this. So please, everyone who feels like I'm not going deep enough into a subject, or I'm not being concise enough, or I'm not being short enough, then this is not for you, because this is really for those of us who understand the subjectivity of energetic perception, and it requires a little bit of going into the feeling level and describing it with simple words. Okay, I can throw all these different esoteric terms around here and say, well, we're all one, and we call this like the love and light brigade. All right, we can do this, but this would be illusionary because we understand that this journey is not easy, and we understand that there's a lot of subjective processes that we go through on the way. Therefore, it is really important for me that you ask questions here. You can type your questions. We have webinars in our self-healing community here where we do live, online, like talking and discussion and so forth. So really, please ask questions. Last week was a very good example for why this makes sense. Yes. And there are, of course, questions that may sound very personal, and forgive me when I answer to you in a more general way, because I want other people to be able to relate. So when we work on ourselves, this is a really cool question, Jody. When we work on ourselves, people think we're going crazy. All right. And those of us who are a little older, like myself, we've had a lot of that in the past, okay? Those of you who are a little younger may not fully understand what this means, because for you guys, it's a much more common to actually talk about those things. So people think we're crazy, and this is especially an issue in our marriages or in our relationships, because they think we're like off on falling for a cult or something like this. And what this really expresses, Jody, and everyone out there who feels that, like you being on your own journey is an issue for your relationship, what it really expresses is the fear of the unknown, all right? And you have to understand that someone who is not feeling this inner prompting to go inward, that they are not really able to relate to some of the experiences you have, including some of the, or many of the physical experiences you have. But then again, how many people are out there? How many people do you know that have like these unexplainable chronic conditions that no medical therapy can actually help? All right, and this is because there's so many conditions that are actually hidden in our energies, and I'm not just talking emotional stuff or sometimes mental stuff. There's things that are hidden, that can be hidden in our karmic fields, in our etheric fields, in our spiritual understanding of things that create conditions that make us sick. And we had a lot of this happening last week, and yet and this is the reflection part here of the last week, when we go through these spikes of collective high vibrational energies, like we did, like it started Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, maybe still going on for some people. What happens is that energies are getting sped up, all right? Just like when you put a pot of filled with water on the stove and you start heating it up, what happens? All these molecules begin to move faster. And this is what's happening within us, all right? And this faster movement, of course, can stir up a lot of stuff. This is why we are in this sort of self-improvement arena here, because every time such a wave comes in, our stuff gets stirred up. And we may have relapses. We may feel like, oh my God, I'm getting pulled back into like really old stuff. I thought I've already transcended that. Why didn't I see this coming? Or, so instead of doubting ourselves, instead of beating ourselves up, instead of like believing in, some of the things that other people think about us, which is like, oh my God, she's completely going nuts now. And we go within and we understand that this is a prompting from our energy bodies, say, manifested in the physical, manifested through our mental, manifested through our emotional, that is coming forward, that is signaling to us that there's a resistance there, that there's a dissonance there, that there's something there that is an imbalance. all right? And this can be applied to almost all physical conditions. So last week's conditions here were things like, as I mentioned earlier, etheric buzz. Okay, if you've never experienced this before, this like all over fast vibration, like I said, almost as if you're like exploding or lifting up. You may think I'm crazy talking about this, but they were like, I don't know, 70 people last week spontaneously responding to that. Yes, I am experiencing this too. The same with heart palpitations, extreme pressure or pain here in the heart, rib cage area, sternum, feeling like you have a heart attack, pulses that are going through your system, heat waves that are going through your system that are completely unexplainable, hives, maybe sweat, all kinds of physical sensations, nausea. Nausea was really strong on Tuesday. All right. And you may try to relate that to other things, but quite frankly, all you're really feeling is your energy system speeding up and signaling you dissonances in certain areas. So this is what energy healing is about. Energy healing is about looking at these things, learning ways to interpret this, then later becoming even better at this, not just clearing things and integrating things, but being able to scan these things within you, within your environment, and to be able to respond to them before they latch on, before you end up in the drama of the experience, okay? Other people cannot relate to this if they have not had similar experiences, which is why the community aspect is so important, guys. All right. So how do we help each other? We help each other by talking about it, by bringing it out in the open, and by overcoming our fear of being looked at that we're crazy, because we're not. This is a phenomenon. This is subject to a lot of research right now. 15 to 20% of the total population on this planet are considered to be highly sensitive or energetically sensitive, as I call it. All right. So, and you were saying, isn't it a negative belief to say or to think that things will be hard? I see where you're getting with this. So when we point out things like, say, I'm saying things like, oh, next week can be a little bit of challenging. Yes, and you could argue that it can bring you into a state of like sort of negative, self-fulfilling prophecy. But at the same time, this may actually occur, and it may occur for a good reason, because your energies are now honing in on your fears, and your fears are now manifesting a physical reality that sucks. All right, then of course your ego will say, oh yeah, now I know why, and it will justify, and this is why, because, you know, it's the collective's fault, or it's my partner's fault, and so forth. But those of you here who understand the deeper meaning of this, all right, it's not about giving your ego justifications. And if stuff gets triggered in you based on you honing in on your fears or on your inner dissonances, well then so be it. That's why it's so important to reflect and look back and say, like, okay, wait a minute, what happened here? You know, this is not the collective's fault. This is not the fault of anybody, really. What was reacting in me and what was creating the reality was what was already there. It was something, it was a dissonance that was triggered, and I went with it and allowed it to manifest. So the sort of the opposite thing to just promote, oh, happy thoughts. All you got to do is happy thoughts. You know, all is going to be fine if you just hold hands and sing together. You know, everything is going to be fine. It's just as deceptive and just as useless. You're not ever going to change anything, you know, if you just sort of bailing out, you know, with wanting to feel bliss and wanting to feel happy all the time. This is not reality. This is not true. Okay, the truth is we all go through fluctuations in our energy. And it is not the avoiding them. It is not the going against them or fighting it. It is learning how to face it, learning how to go with it, learning how to reflect on it, going inward with it. all right? And look at it like, okay, what does this, what my partner just said, or what the president of my nation just said, or what other people say, or what Facebook says, or you name it. What does that trigger in me? Because it can only latch on to things in you if there is something to latch on to. So last week I asked you listeners here to go into looking into some of the absorption and projection aspect here. And as you all know, with this live update that I later publish as an edited video with articles, and with the articles that I posted in that week specifically for these subjects, it explains a lot. I go really, really deep in them. But you don't have to be able to understand all this. If you just take this as like, okay, there's a potentiality, okay, that things may be triggered this week, and you keep this in the back of your mind. You let all that go, and you when you're in the midst of experiencing, like say those really weird energetic sensations that we had that could make us sick, that could make us want to opt out, that could make us isolate, that could really send us into this like dark night of the soul type of feeling last week. All right, then keep this in the back of your mind, and remember, well, maybe it's not all just me, and maybe I'm just responding in a way that is based on some of the coping mechanisms that I've developed over the years, but that have kept on getting me into the same situations over and over again. Right, so especially in regards to our relationships, it's very, very easy to observe patterns in relationships. But you can only observe them if you're actually willing to step out, willing to step into your observer mode. And this is what energetic sensitivity is really asking you to do. So I really also want to build a bridge here to everyone who feels like energetic sensitivity is a curse and it really just makes things much harder to deal with. No, it's a talent. It's a gift that you have. It's something that from within that prompts you to look closer, to go closer, to look at things from different perspectives, and not just with your mind, with your heart. And when I say heart, I'm not talking about emotions. All right, in energy work, we clearly differentiate between feelings, sensations, emotions, and sentiments. All right, it's very important that you go within and say, like, wait a minute, which part of me is reacting to this here right now? What is rubbing me the wrong way? The judgments that I have about others or about myself, where is this coming from? Is this really mine? Or am I picking up on other people's energies here? Am I absorbing? Or am I projecting all this out, and no wonder, I get all these responses back? Okay, so this is what energetic sensitivity can help you with. And as it seems to be like a global phenomenon, we can expect that more and more people are actually going to move into this realm of perception. And we need people, that can help us to learn all these things, that guide us along the way. I had many guides. I had many teachers. I studied this for 30 years, guys. So do I have a special skill? No, but I've studied this. So what I'm teaching here, not in these energy updates, these are just sort of side products, byproducts of my work, okay, with people who really want to learn these things. All right, so this is just for the general public to scratch the surface of what is going on. But those of you who work with me, you know that there are several layers to this, all right? And whatever point in our journey we find ourselves, there is a way to navigate through this, all right? And it will be different for each and every one of us. That's why it's so important to connect within. All right, and how does this now contextualize with next week's energies? Next week's energies are going to be a little lighter, so you're not going to feel this extreme buzz, these extremes that we felt in the last couple of days. But on the energetic weather barometer, it's only moving from red into orange. All right. What does that mean? It means that we're not going to be distracted. We're not going to be going to fall for the extreme drama of things. Okay, there'll still be a lot of things happening on the outside. So politically right now, environmentally, a lot of stuff is happening right now that is trying to distract us into this confined, narrow perception of drama, which is a distraction mechanism. All right. When this happens, there's always something that we're not supposed to look at. So again here, on the personal level, just as much as on an overall social level, always look at what's behind this. Okay? If you fall for a personal drama, always ask yourself what is triggered underneath that is luring me into distraction or into drama. The same with political stuff. Okay, there's a lot of stuff right now going on behind the scenes, and all these things that you're seeing, the escalation of energies, are there for one specific purpose, and that is to distract you from something else that's going on. It's like magic, guys. What does the magician do? He does a lot of stuff with his hands so that you pay attention to the hands, so that you don't realize what is going on underneath that. All right, so this is the deception I talked about last week, and this hurts for energetically sensitives. This hurts. It hurts right here. It hurts in the eyes. It hurts on our temples. It hurts on the head, on a crown chakra. So it's like 7th and 6th chakra. They are hurting because we are bombarded there, and this is not any just a sort of a benign type of thing going on. No, this is massive bombardment on our third eye, on our inner connection. So whenever there's these times, they are supposed to disrupt our inner connection and steer us into either complete distraction or into self-doubt. All right, so don't fall for that. Sorry, I just missed a question here. And any question that I'm not able to answer here, it's just because I miss it, I will answer in the commentary here. So please continue asking questions in the YouTube commentary or the Facebook commentary here. All right, yes, and this is a great reflection. Yes, you start feeling good about yourself because you're beginning to sense yourself in a more true way, and you're beginning to feel more proper boundaries in regards to others. Yes, you don't need to think you're crazy. That is just because sort of you felt alone with this. But as soon as you realize that this is not just you, you know, you are going into that place within yourself that can show you who you truly are, what you truly need. And sometimes that is very frightening for our partners, especially if our relationships have been in a state of deception or distraction, you know, because then our partners become afraid. But, you know, it's as an empath or energetically sensitive, it's also okay to acknowledge that and to see, okay, this scares my partner. Maybe there's something underneath that, you know, that I need to address. Maybe my partner's afraid that if I go deeper, I may leave him or her or not love him anymore. So you need to address that part. Don't go into self-doubt or defense, for that matter, you know. You don't need to convince anyone of the necessity or your prompting or your need to go within and find out who you truly are. Okay, that does not require any type of justification. But see that most people are not in that state of truth, and therefore find it almost threatening or very terrifying when others go there. There's also an unconscious projection going on, and that is that it actually reminds a lot of people of how untrue they are, but they're not quite ready yet to go there. So again here, compassion with others or for others is really important in that whole deal, just as much as being compassionate with yourself. All right. So how does this work now with these coming week's energies. Okay, so first of all, many of you know this from astrology. Okay, there's a bunch of retrogrades coming along our way here, and you know this. I'm not an astrologer, but I do understand the energetic meaning of a retrograde. And a retrograde means that we're going back, we're going deeper. All right, just exactly what we talked about here. Okay, so we need to go deeper. This is like staying still, not going with the drama, but going back and reflecting on things, going inward, all right? Recalibrating our priorities. Is what I'm doing, where I'm at, including my job, my relationship, or the way I approach my life, is this really making me happy? Is this true to me? Once more, you are being asked to go into total truth with yourself and approach the things that you have been procrastinating or that you have been making compromises with that violated your inner integrity. And yes, does this feel uncomfortable for most of us? Absolutely, because the ego cannot stand in that type of corrective energy. All right, that's why things go wrong in retrogrades. Not because there's some planet doing something to us. No, this planetary constellation creates or causes an energetic condition that asks us to go deeper, to go inward, and to reflect. And if we are in resistance with this, if we resist this, then things go wrong. All right, so it's not the constellation that does that. It is our resistance to the outer weather conditions, so to speak, that produces the uncomfortableness and many of our physical symptoms. So what we are being asked to, due to the conditions, so if we want to go with these energetic weather conditions and not go into resistance with them, then we are being asked to go and to connect within and to see underneath the projections that are going on around us. And please don't complain about the audio. What you're hearing in the background is hummingbirds. So if this annoys you, ask yourself what rubs me the wrong way about hummingbirds. Okay, just being a bit sarcastic here due to some of the complaints that I'm getting. All right, so going inward. So I think we've covered this now in quite extensively. But what are some of the other aspects that are being triggered or that can be triggered through this? All right, so I'm looking at some of the things that have been on the line here for quite a few weeks, and this is really cleaning up with some of our past stuff. So I mean, I've been saying this over and over and over again. Clear up your past, let go of the attachments of your past. Why? Because these attachments are what create the resistance. They are the ones that will function like ship magnets, all right, if you don't let them go, if you don't learn how to transcend them. And so this week is probably more like being asked. It's more like a warning. Guys, do house cleaning. Really get your stuff done. Get your shit together now, okay? The reason why I said this only the barometer is only going to go in orange is because we're looking at 2 weeks from here that will be extremely challenging. And if you have things that you've been procrastinating, if you have things that you already know that are not true to you anymore, that you should change or that you should take care of, all right, stop listening to this monkey on your back that keeps on saying to you, you should go do it. All right, this week is the week of clearing out your stuff. And if you can't really connect with this right now, then one of the things that you can do, this is something that we use here as energy work technique, transCODES with our Heart Warrior program. if you don't really know who you are, if you don't really know what your true needs are, and many of us are in situations where we've lost that connection, it's not your fault, you know, it's just, you know, living a life trying to please others or seeing ourselves through the eyes of others has kind of like distanced us from ourselves, and that makes it very difficult to connect with this. One of the techniques that I would recommend you this week to do, which is quite nice actually, you know, go look at some baby pictures, go look at some pictures of your childhood, maybe even old journals, all right, or yearbooks. They work really well as well. And look at yourself and try to feel you, the say like the slightly naive you, you know, the innocent you from back then, before all these like sort of elaborate coping mechanisms developed, before most of the trauma and so forth came in. Try to connect with this part of you. What were your hopes and dreams back then? You know, what were you aspiring? How did you see yourself in this world? With the exception, of course, for those of us who have had a severe childhood trauma, but those of you who, you know, remember the feeling of like, I wanted to become a fireman, I wanted to become a princess, I wanted to be a race car driver, that kind of thing, you know, what did you want to be when you were younger? Usually, this is something that if your developmental stages weren't really inhibited at this age of like say 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 more, if you remember, if you can connect with that, you get to the core of yourself again. You can connect with that. But also looking at pictures. I just received a package in the mail from my pictures of like 20, 30 years ago. And I went through this with my kids, and it was extremely connecting. It was so cool to connect with this part of me, you know, and to see like how I have changed, and how much fear I had, how much anger I had in me, and how the world looked like to me back then, and how this has all changed today. So this can be a good measure or a good tool for you to connect within. All right. Also, of course, community, so being social. Go out and do things that you always wanted to do. Skydiving. Well, actually, it's not that good of a time to do skydiving right now. But go things that you always wanted to do. Connect with pleasure. Connect with joy. Connect with the simple things in life. You know, the simple joys in life. I've said this last week again already, and I'm saying this again, all right? So don't think that everything has to be like a fancy energy work technique, all right? Energy work happens on all levels, on the physical, on the emotional, on the mental, on the spiritual, and on the etheric at the same time, all right? So learning about your energies is just a small part, you know? You also got to learn about, you know, what brings me pleasure, what makes me feel good. But also what brings me forward, you know, and what are the promptings that I'm receiving? What is the inner guidance that I'm receiving that I'm not listening to? Those things will blow into your face the end of August if you don't go with them. So my tip for you for this next week is don't resist. All right, go with it. Ask yourself what's underneath it. What is rubbing me the wrong way? What am I not looking at here? All right. And please ask questions. We're looking at 2 weeks from now the solar eclipse, and a lot of people were scared of it. Why they were scared of it? That's just part into our nervous system. We don't like darkness, and we have a hard time accepting darkness. So some of the resistance that you have is about like seeing your shadow aspects. You know, I mean, here at transCODES we talk about shadow all the time, so it seems redundant for me to talk about this, but this is maybe something that you want to engage in and look at, like, okay, where are some of these things, you know, that perhaps I judge about myself, or that I can't love about myself, that I need to reintegrate, and maybe there's something that is actually really cool about it. I'm just misusing it. A lot of times our shadow traits are actually just misused talents or undiscovered talents. I wanted to say. I just want to say one more thing about the fears and the drama that is being created right now. There is some seriousness to this, and yes, we have all reasons to be concerned. But if we jump on the wagon and if we let this trigger the fears in us, the anger in us, the pain in us, guess what we're doing? We're feeding it, and we are supporting, we are enabling that. So for energetically sensitives, the thin line between trying to be in the flow and trying to go with it and not resist, and yet losing our own integrity and violating our own truth, maybe agreeing to compromises or allowing things to be in our life and enabling things is a very tricky one. So this is probably where a lot of you guys will feel your challenges in your relationships, not just your romantic relationships, also at work and with your kids. Your boundaries are going to be tested, and compromises. You are being asked to be absolutely true to yourself, so don't allow that to happen. All right. The energy centers this week, this coming week, that will be most affected will still be our 6th chakra, just due to the eclipse energies that are affecting our overall energy body, but mostly our 5th chakra, throat chakra, our 3rd, our solar plexus, and our 1st chakra. So house cleaning is, and of course I don't just mean our house, but I also mean the house. So this is a really, really good time to declutter, to recalibrate where you truly want to be, where you want to go, if where you're going really getting you there, and get rid, let go, surrender, let go of the things that are no longer needed or no longer serving you. All right, that's your 3rd and your 1st chakra. Do not get into fights. Do not fall for fear. That's your 3rd chakra. And speak your truth. Speak from the heart. Seek the company of people that allow you to be true. And if people respond with say, resentment or judgment or fear, don't judge them right away. They may just be a little scared of of the power that they're feeling that is arising in you. Okay, so please don't fall for any of these things. Stay in your truth. All right, and let go of the things that are not helping you forward. I've got a lot about cryptocurrencies this week, and I want to remind you, I do not spend the majority of my time researching cryptos, but for everyone who's new to this here, I do believe that these technologies that are developing here and these companies that are coming up with this entire movement, okay, so cryptos, are a movement of people like you and I who have lost the trust in the system, in the matrix, so to speak, and are looking for ways to bypass it, to circumvent it, and to step in our power. So yes, I do recommend to educate yourself. I said last week it's still kind of Wild West, so expect a lot of up and down. So unless you're knowing what you're doing, don't. All right. But please don't ask me for recommendations. There's other people who can do this for you. Go on YouTube and find out, like a trustworthy source of people who do this research all day long. There's great courses on YouTube, Udemy courses that you can book. So go there. Please don't ask me. I did make recommendations last week that was based on what I am invested in. But of course, these things change. I'm a long-term investor, so for me, it doesn't really matter what the volatility is, but I support cryptocurrencies, just not every company in there, because just like in all business life, there's 95% who are not that integral. So I use my heart navigator to discern the integrity level of businesses, of business ideas, of ICOs, and this is also part of what I teach here at transCODES. in our corporate leadership programs, where we teach people how to discern the consciousness level and the integrity level of business ideas, business concepts, business partners, business contracts, and so forth. So again here, the application of energetic sensitivity and perceptivity is unlimited. It is not just limited to our personal self-improvement, but anybody who discovers these abilities within will understand why I recommend it to everybody and why I teach it. All right. We have a big weekend ahead here at transCODES again, and those of you who need emergency sessions, I received a lot of requests for emergency sessions right now. Please understand that I cannot do this individually for everyone in this time frame. Okay, I've worked like 18 hours every day, sleeping 2-3 hours at night. For the last weeks, really. This is what I have these energetic adjustment sessions for, okay? This is a group session publicly available for anybody at any stage of your journey, where I go and work with your energy and even do a 30-minute energy coaching session on appointment afterwards. So if you need to talk, if you need exchange, if you need reflection, then please come to this session. We also have Grace Integrity on Sunday for those of you who've discovered some of these parts in you that are not lovable for you, or that need to be integrated, and that want to learn how to do deeper soul integration. All right, so this is what we do here at transCODES, so forgive me that promotion. And as always, at the end of our live updates, please like the transCODES here on Facebook. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are currently preparing a new radio show, a weekly radio show called Hard Warriors Radio, and this will be extremely cool. We're having panel guests there, and Ryan McCormick from Outer Limits Radio is who's producing this. So thank you, Ryan, and this will be huge. So I'm expecting all of you to come in order to stay tuned, not only to all these like elaborate articles and sessions that we do, but also to the announcement for Hard Warriors Radio. Please subscribe to our newsletter, and this will give you the updates on everything. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for paying attention, for listening, for taking the time to sit here and hear this. I want you to know that your energy is actually helping me in these energy updates as well. And every comment that you make, even if it's just like, yeah, I feel this too, or yeah, is reassuring for others. All right, so please don't just see this as sending it to me. You're also sending it to everyone who is watching the recordings, and to everyone who is dealing with tough things. And yes, I will answer all comments and all questions here in the commentary. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful week. Hang in there, and maybe use this week to go a little deeper. Okay, what is it that is rubbing me the wrong way here? What can I not love about myself that I see in others? Bye-bye.